If you're going to do a settlement, like if they're getting something that they want, the money or repairs or whatever, you need to get something in return too. So first of all, try to negotiate down so you're not giving them as much money or repairs as they're asking for. And then secondly, get an agreement. Don't try, like absolutely get an agreement that says this is the last thing we're going to ask from you, and we will not come back to you with anything ever again in the future.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the James and Jaden Talk Real Estate. We talk about our business, what happened during that week, and we talk about, the future of HomeGuys and where it's going to go. So sit back, relax, and see if you can pull a couple of nuggets from us. So how's it going today, Jaden?
Going pretty good. Yeah. Every day is something new and interesting stories come up in the business to talk about. So unfortunately, we thought we were recording, and we had our project manager, Steve, on with us. And he's actually at one of our houses right now that's called the Cat House. And he was kind of showing us around what's going on. And unfortunately, we didn't record it. So we'll just have to kind of
learned, everybody. Lesson learned.
Go back through what happened. So, I'll start. This property is only 8 years old, but it had something like 14 cats. I don't remember the exact count, but he was adding them up on the video.
I think contractors were taking some of the when they were coming.
Contractors got some went to some shelters, some went to some neighbors. I don't know. He accounted for all of them. One of them ran away and never came back. So.
No cats were hurt in the removing from the house, just to let everybody know.
But cats, even one cat can really destroy a house. The urine from a cat there's something in it that makes it really, really stinky, and it's very hard to get out. So they got up into the ductwork, and we had to rip ductwork out and reduct the house. But fortunately, in Minnesota, most houses have unfinished basements, so you have access to the ducting and you could rip it out pretty easily. So we reducted the house, and then he had to do some cutting on a sheetrock and treating with enzymes of the subfloors and replacing some trim and stuff like that. And he had a professional odor control company come out and do all that, and thought we were good to go. James made sure to disclose that the fact that it had cats in the house, so we had remediated it. We wanted to make sure that the people buying it knew that, and they went back through the house again, and apparently we're able to smell a faint smell of it somewhere in the house. So Steve's back over there today, tracking down the last hints of smell and getting a game plan going to address the last bit of smell. And last time I talked to him about it, he was talking about an ozone machine with a chemical that you add to it that can treat this. And I think he was going to look into cutting some sheetrock out as well, possibly, because it was right in just one area near the baseboard that was kind of the problem, it sounds like. So.
What do you think is worse, Jaden? You think cat urine or smoke?
I think cat urine's worse. I really do. Yeah, smoke, actually, I think you can get out. I mean, yeah.
Smoke seems like easier to cover up. You can kill a lot of stuff.
One downside about smoke is it's everywhere. Like if somebody smokes in a house, it's everywhere, right? It might be more strong in their smoking chair or something, but the whole house is covered in it. Cat urine, if you go in there right away with a black light, you can kind of see where it's at, and they usually go in like certain locations, right? It's not usually all over the whole house. Although with 14 cats, it probably was pretty much.
Every cat had a corner, okay?
Yeah. Well, the other thing with cats is like it's going to be on the floor or on the bottom of the wall. You're not going to have to treat, the top 7 feet of the wall or the ceilings. Where with smoke, it's like you're treating everything. All the ceilings, walls, everything's getting treated. I feel like with smoke, usually ozone and paint goes a long way with smoke,
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Ozone by itself doesn't do anything to cat urine. It converts it to a different chemical that's also not good, like formaldehyde or something. But apparently there's the new ozone treatment with a chemical that you use, and combined it apparently works.
Right. You talked about something that I did. I wanted to touch base with it a little bit more by making sure that we disclose that. Anytime you do something over, at least in Minnesota, if we know something of the property, even though we've never lived there, we need to disclose it. And I didn't, at the last minute, I was actually reminded of that. And I made sure that our agent put in disclosure that, hey, that it had these cats living in this property. We mitigated everything that we could mitigate, and we're moving forward. But what we didn't want to happen is not saying anything about it, and then all of a sudden, maybe 2 years down the road, maybe the basement gets wet and it reactivates a smell or something, and now all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, that's from the original house. We never had cats in here, and so now they're going to come back after us.
Yeah, that's kind of true for any significant repair in a house where, say, you had like a roof leak or something like that, and you repaired the roof to fix the roof leak. You should still disclose that there was a roof leak, disclose where it was, because nothing lasts forever, and that roof leak might start leaking again in 7 years or something like that, or 3 years or whatever. But you can't guarantee anything. All you could say is like, there was a roof leak, we fixed it. Here is the company that fixed it. That's it. And maybe that company offers a 1 or 2 year warranty or something. But any major repairs should really be disclosed so that they know, what was done to the property and what they're getting into.
Yeah, I don't suggest, you guys, you don't want to put out bad product out in the market. It is your reputation. It's everything. And so again, if disclosing is going to help with that, like, hey, I did know that there was cats out there. I didn't realize, maybe, again, we mitigated the problem, but at least
and disclosing isn't guaranteeing. Disclosing and guaranteeing are two totally different things. Yeah. So just because you're disclosing something and saying we fixed it doesn't mean you're guaranteeing, like, 3 years from now, if you have a problem, you can call me and I'll fix it. That's not what it's saying. It's saying if you have a problem with it, figure it out now in your inspection and negotiate with us now. Otherwise, don't call us after you close about it.
So once I sent that over to the buyer's agent that this house was under contract, they went back and we were actually getting ready to close on it, and they canceled the contract. So I get it. I guess I'd rather that happen than us get sued or get in trouble for something that we had.
Yeah, they were uncomfortable about it. I'm glad that they canceled. So that's good that that happened. And now we'll figure out if there is some scent there still. We'll find it and get rid of the last of it.
So that reminds me of like disclosing stuff. Guys, we've never not disclosed stuff. I think it was in our very first year. Do you remember the bat house?
Yes.
So we bought this property. We didn't know there was anything going on up in the attic whatsoever. Okay, because supposedly bats are what they go during the day. In the evening time, they're out of the house.
They're nocturnal, right? So they're midnight. They're out flying around.
Right. So I do remember when I went to look at this house, it was in the evening time, and so I don't know if there was anything. I mean, I would have never looked up in the attic anyways.
You wouldn't have seen anything in the attic. The bats, they're underneath the insulation usually, like a blanket.
Oh,
you don't see them.
Sure. So the bottom line, guys, we did get sued. I don't want to say it was like $10,000 we ended up giving them.
This was one of our first properties. It was like the first 6 months of business.
Yep.
Yeah, we ended up getting sued over it. So what happened was they bought the house. It was in good condition. It was actually in decent shape when we bought it. We did, another $25,000 of work to fix it up.
It was an older home. It was an older farm home, but
and we ended up selling it. Full retail value was $155,000, so it was a pretty inexpensive house. It was in a little bit of a rural area, and they bought it, moved into it, and they found bats in the attic apparently. And we had never heard. I mean, again, we were only there during the daytime. Our contractors were there during the daytime. You're not going to see bats flying around at 3 in the afternoon. So we were not aware of that. And anyway, one of the neighbors of the house said that there's been bats in that attic for years. And of course, we would have known that because they've been there for years. Well, I don't know if the owner even knew that. We had just bought the house. We weren't living there for years. Probably the previous owners did notice and didn't tell us. I'm sure the owners knew, and it's actually their legal obligation to tell us about that if they know it, or anything else they know about.
Even if you're buying it for cash, right, Jaden?
Even if for cash, and it doesn't matter how you're buying a house. They have to disclose anything that could affect the use of the house, which bats could, of course. So anyway, since the neighbor said that, the buyers decided, well, you guys must have known about this and intentionally didn't tell us. And so they took us to court. Of course, we never knew of any bats. Your inspector never mentioned anything about. They had an inspector in the attic. Never mentioned bats. The inspector was actually up there climbing around. Never mentioned it. So
again, like you just said, it's not like they all hide, right? I think what most people are going to imagine is a bat in a cave that's hanging from upside down.
Yeah,
that's what they're. We're in a house now. They're going to.
Usually it's. I've had this in a couple houses now. Usually it's just a couple bats. Like you might have a family or something. I know it's like you might have 5 bats or 1 or 2 or 3 bats. It's not very many. And then like they just like live under the insulation because it's warm. And then at night they fly out and find bugs to eat, and then they come back and you can hear them scratching around sometimes on the sheetrock. That's how you find out that you have bats. Is like you're laying there in your bed and you can hear them scratching the sheetrock. So I've had them in my house.
Sounds
so
creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
That's
what it is.
I can't sleep, and you're laying there, and all of a sudden you're like.
It feels like keys across the sheetrock is what it sounds like.
Right.
So anyway, we didn't know there was bats there, but it doesn't matter. They could sue us anyway. So they sued us, and this is like 7 or 8 years ago. So I'm trying to remember all the details of it. yeah, basically we got our attorney involved and said, we didn't know this. You're not responsible for things that you didn't know. We did not know. And it's actually their responsibility to prove that we knew, which would be how would you prove that? So they were in a pretty tough spot. I'm trying to think, did we actually settle this one?
Yeah, we settled it, Jaden. We actually paid for them to go in there and have a company clean.
That's right. I remember I went to court and I met with their lawyer and them outside of the court. They have a meeting in a little office outside the court before you go in to try to settle. And I always try to, make things as cordial and easy as possible. And so we went in there to settle, and see that there was a young couple in their 20s, and I want to say the guy was blind or deaf. I forget which one. And then his wife was there.
Why does that have anything to do with the story?
Well, it does matter because you're like, it's like an empathy thing. Like, geez, this guy got bathroom and he's disabled,
I thought it was just they were a young couple. We just wanted to make sure that they got their first experience in their house right.
It was that. Like, I just felt bad. I'm like, yeah, he was disabled. He worked. He was fully employed, full time. But he was, had this handicap. I forget, it was one of the two. And so I just kind of felt bad. And I was just thinking, like, here I am, a business owner. I'm going to go in front of a judge, and this is this young couple that bought this house, and he's got this handicap, and it's just going to look bad for me. Like, it's not going to look good. Whether it doesn't matter what right and wrong with the law says, et cetera, it just doesn't look good. So, and I felt bad. So I was like in this mode, like we really weren't under any obligation to pay for anything or cover anything because we did nothing wrong. But I talked with our attorney and them back and forth, and we came to an agreement. And I don't recall the exact numbers, but it was like basically we would take care of the bat problem. Essentially, is what it was. And I forgot what the cost was, or if we just
it's like $12 grand. I don't know why that rings a bell. It's like 12.
It might have been $12 grand. Yeah, it could have been. So it's pretty much just like, yeah, we'll take care of the bat problem. And I don't know if I even knew how much that would cost at that point, but I just wanted to make sure it was taken care of. So, and we've done that a lot with this kind of stuff. Like, we're not legally responsible for something, but just to do the right thing. And
well, we're branded, right? So we guys strive to always do the right thing. I mean, I know that's, but
we also can't do things that are we also can't do things that are unreasonable, right? So we can't just say yes to everything, because then that's not sustainable, right? So we got to pick and choose, but for the most part, we try to make it right as much as we possibly can.
100%. I don't know how many times have we thrown a water heater in a week later after it's closed.
I think that house, we actually did something with the water heater after they closed too.
I don't know about that one, but yeah. But again,
I think it was the house. We did a water heater. Maybe not. I think we had to send a repairman out there to repair the water heater.
Yeah, but we do that all the time. Again, we're branded, guys. We want to make sure that this is not the time to get pissy with somebody. To be honest with you, take care of it. Look like the hero in your neighborhood.
And we've had a number of projects where something like that comes up afterwards, after the fact, and we aren't liable for it. We're not responsible for it, but we decide it's the right thing to do. And there's
talk
been
about
cases
the pool.
Well, so on this first one we're talking about, like our net profit on that deal ended up pretty much being zero because of we ended up paying for all that. And we've done that more than once where we ended up pretty much giving our profit back because something came up afterwards like that. So sometimes that's what you got to do. Oh, the pool situation, that just happened recently. We had bought a house. I forget what town it was in the Minneapolis metro. Did we fix that one up?
Yeah, we fixed everything up except the landscape outside.
Yeah, so we fixed them up to like a fix and flip, went to like retail, and then sold it on MLS. And we sold it and closed, and everything disclosed what we knew about it. What turned out afterwards, the buyers found out that there was a buried pool in the backyard. Like, okay, well, we didn't know that, and the previous sellers didn't tell us. So really, the previous sellers would have known that. And if somebody was going to get sued, it should be them. But that's not who they were going to sue. They sued us. So they sued us. We have no liability, but we're in the situation where do we want to go to court and send it in front of a judge and all this other stuff? Like, I generally don't want to do that. So their attorney said it was it $10,000 or $15,000? I forget the number. Not a small amount, maybe $15,000. And I just said, yeah, well, we'll give you $15,000, and but you've got to sign a piece of paper that you're going to go away and not bother us anymore about this house. I always ask for that. Get something in return. Don't just give money away.
Hey, that's good advice. Explain that again, Jaden.
Yeah, so if you're going to do a settlement, like if they're getting something that they want, the money or repairs or whatever, you need to get something in return too. So first of all, try to negotiate down so you're not giving them as much money or repairs as they're asking for. And then secondly, try to get them, get an agreement. Don't try, absolutely get an agreement that says, this is the last thing we're going to ask from you, and we will not come back to you with anything ever again in the future, because you don't want to encourage somebody by paying them $15,000 for threatening you with a lawsuit to then go, oh, I can do this 3 months from now when the roof leaks or whatever else happens with the property. I get an ice dam, whatever. And then they'll come ask you for money again. You don't want to start that whole process. So you say, like, we're going to sign this agreement that says we're done. We're going to settle here. This is how much money you're going to get. And then we're going to move on. So, yeah, we always try to get that.
Yeah. Hey, guys, just to remind everybody of why, we're not just pulling these stories from the air. These all happen. Guys, we've done over 1,000 deals now. And if we've done 1,000 deals, how many homes have we been in then, theoretically, off of that number? 10,000 now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Probably. Yeah, I suppose it would be. Yeah, probably 5,000 or 10,000 houses that we've looked at. We've
been in and physically. So again, it doesn't mean that we bought it. It just means, do we still see the story? Yeah, we obviously see the story.
How many houses do we underwrite a year? Over 1,000 for sure per year. 2,000
you would
maybe?
think that, yeah. It's about, I would say it's got to be about 1,000.
Yeah,
800 to 1,000. If you kind of do the math.
This, the challenging thing with this kind of stuff is, like, these are used houses. Like, even after we fix them up and sell them, like, they're still 1987, 1975, whatever. They're still used houses. So there's still things will come up in the future. Like, something's going to happen in the future, and so there's that kind of that gray line where, like, how far do you go with taking care of things is the question. Remember one house early on, I got a call that from their agent after they bought and moved in, they were having ice dams and the roof was leaking from the ice dams. And I'm like, yeah, half of my properties have ice dams that are leaking right now because everybody has ice dams because the weather was
because everybody has it.
Yeah, I'm like, they wanted me. They literally called me over on like a Saturday or Sunday and wanted me to run over 30 minutes away and fix their ice dams and fix their frozen gutters and all this other stuff. And I'm like, are you serious? Everybody has this problem.
Right. And I think it comes, people have to remember too, they're buying a used house, not a new house. And honestly, even new construction, you just built and you had issues and dealing with contractors.
A huge amount of issues. We built a new house in Florida and we were fixing problems for 18 months.
Well, you're still there. You're still fixing stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's done now. After the 18 months, we've got most of it taken care of. But like, I was a construction manager for 18 months after we moved in, getting stuff fixed. Now, I would say the nice thing about a new house is that you have a warranty, depending on how good the builder is or how bad they are. You have a warranty. So, like, getting stuff fixed shouldn't cost you much money. Hopefully, it doesn't cost you anything.
Which it's law too, right, Jaden? I mean, where you're at, depending on for new construction and how much warranty they have to put in on it.
Well, I think the law covers the structural and plumbing and stuff. Once you get away from like the really big parts of the house, it's really a lot grayer. And depending on the builder you have, they may or may not really help you with a lot of the other stuff, like tile or paint or sheetrock or trim or different things like that, screens, windows. But yeah, there was our house had like 55 repair items we had to get taken care of after we moved in. But the builder eventually took care of all of them after 18 months of me managing it.
Right.
So we got there.
They probably didn't know who they were dealing with either.
But yeah, if you want to be able to call somebody to fix things after you move in, you need to build a new house and get a warranty. Otherwise you're going to be dealing with yourself. There's really no way around that.
Right. We deal with that as agents too, where they come back and they're like, why didn't you fix this or this? And sometimes you don't have to fix it. Too many people people that get into this business want to do it HGTV style. They want to do the design. Again, they're falling in love with the process. They're not falling in love with the business, right?
Business-wise, it's usually better to do more basic remodel kind of work. It's not generally, doing HGTV levels remodels. Pretty much to do that in a business, you'd have to have your client buy the house and then have your client hire you as the remodeler, the general contractor, designer, et cetera. And then you're just providing a service to the client. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can't make money doing that. Like buying a house in the market and doing that and then selling it. Very difficult to make that make sense.
One of our very first properties that we did, we were trying to wholesale. We didn't have wholesaling down. I don't know if you remember, it was a townhouse in Bloomington. And we thought they had somebody that wanted to come in and buy it from us. And I remember they're like, oh, we're going to put granite countertops down. And I'm like, no, you don't put granite top. Everybody, when you're doing a flip, you do the flip for the neighborhood. You don't do the flip for the HGTV side. I guarantee you, no one cares.
That was a little townhouse too.
Yeah, right. It was, and that's why I started laughing, guys. At that time, the price point I want to say was like 150. Okay, and you got to remember this is probably 8 years ago, so 150 house was probably in a townhouse was pretty huge. Boy, I'd love to pick up all those 150 $180,000 townhouses, because those are all closer
Yeah,
to
that would be
300
250 now, probably.
Right. But what I'm saying is you don't rehab something, you rehab it to the neighborhood. There's a reason a builder calls it builder grade, right? Because it's just standard stuff. You throw it in there, everybody's gonna like it. Guys, when I did my house, and I'm sure when you did your house, and I think you were even explaining that fan behind you. You wanted something different in your house, so you put something different. Like, we would never flip a house and put that fan in that house.
Yeah, that's not builder grade. I mean, this whole house is builder grade, but that's not, because we put that in ourselves.
Yeah. So, you didn't even get that from the builder. You actually just put it in yourself.
Oh, the builder wouldn't have done that. No.
Got you. Okay,
Yeah,
that's I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but
yeah.
my point being is when you're doing a flip, you have these standards. You go and you make something look nice. You typically keep the same colors. If you start picking all these colors and start going down this rabbit hole, you're getting emotionally attached.
We used to have 2 color schemes. Is it still 2, or is it just 1 now?
It's still 2. I think they were doing some rearranging, but typically
we usually do this agreeable gray type color scheme is the most common. Agreeable gray and white. We've been doing that for 8 years. Yeah. And that's the most common. And then if we have to, because there's a lot of oak or something, or warm wood stuff in the house that we don't want to paint, then we do more of a beige, like a light beige, brown color scheme.
Yep, and it's just easier to do that too, because again, you don't get emotionally attached. When I did this house that we're at, I mean, I was picky for the first time, because I'm like, this is my house. I'm going to physically live here. I think at one time, Jaden, we thought about trying to grab somebody ahead of time. Like we get a house under contract, we buy it, but then we get client A that wants to rehab it, but wants us to do the rehab. And we thought about going down that road of, dealing with the client, but then we started realizing, now you're dealing with a client, it's a pain in the ass.
That's going to be a lot more work. Yeah.
And it's going to be way more work than most people think.
There's a reason the contractors that work with retail customers charge such high prices. We can get a remodel done for $40,000, but if the homeowner hired a GC come and do that same remodel while they're living there, it might be $120,000. That's how much of a price difference it is, because of the pain of, especially if somebody's living there, of dealing with the homeowner while they're living there. It's so painful that the cost is extraordinarily high for anyone to actually be willing to take it on.
Right. We got another property. Okay. Let me give you the quick rundown. So we have one of our acquisitions people they go out, and it's a duplex, but from afar and with all the other homes in the neighborhood, it really looks like a twin home, Jaden. I mean, like, hands down twin home, right? And it only has 1 PID, and we think we can change it to 2. So right now we can get the property at $350, but we're buying 1 PID.
So PID is property ID or parcel ID. I forget which one. Basically, it's the ID for the property. So if you have 1 PID, it means both units are transferable PID. So you can't sell them separately, is what it means.
Right. So our goal is we could sell each of them for $300 a piece. Each side is a 3.2 and a 3.2. So our goal is to go to the city. So far, if all works out, we can split them. And so now we can sell each of them for $300, which now we're making a profit of, I don't know, it's pretty good. It's, closer to 175, 200 now.
Potentially, yeah, depending on how much work.
Potentially, yeah,
of
course. So it's worth doing. I know people have done this before where they change things. The problem is we really don't want it unless we know we can split it. So I have to go to the city tomorrow and start that whole process to find out if we can get it in writing. And as long as we can get it in writing and we know that we can change this property, that's what we're going to do. So it's kind of a unique situation. We thought we would bring it up. If anybody ever has any comments or questions on something like that, I think it would be kind of interesting to talk to them. Maybe other people have done that before. Have you done anything like that before?
I haven't ever split a property like that, but I would say in general, like, those are kind of the home run kind of deals when you can get a property at a big lot, if you can split off a lot and sell it separately, or if you can sell the house and keep the lot and build on the lot, that kind of stuff. This is similar, like taking 1 property and splitting it into 2. Those are home run kind of deals. And they're almost like miniature development deals, because you're working with a city, you're getting something with the zoning or the classification changed. That's kind of like development. And that's why development pays so well, because you're radically changing the value of something through how it's classified with the city. That's what this is.
You guys, this is what's really cool about when you run a company and you collaborate. If we weren't collaborating as a whole, and not, basically we would have let this deal go by. So what happened is we bring it to the team, and so we have an acquisition, we have sales manager and a dispositions manager. I can't remember what we're calling them, VPs, whatever. We're not really into names, right? And before, only one person was deciding which way we're going to go. Now we actually have a little bit more of a committee. And during that committee of us bringing it together, somebody brought something up. It's like, hey, let's check in to see if we can split this one PID into two. Otherwise, this would have never happened, guys. This would have been, oh, this is not a good deal, and it gets pushed off to the side, and we go to the next one. So again, having a couple people, it's still okay, everybody, to have one person to say, yes, we are confirming we're going left, but we're listening to people that we're understanding, like, hey, they might want to go right, or this person might want to go right. It does still come down to the final decision, and we're going to listen to these people, just like we just listened to them that finding out about this PID.
No, I think everybody looks at things differently, and it's it's good to have a bunch of different eyes and something to see if there's a better exit strategy, and that's what we're doing.
Right. So just so, if anybody ever wants to know or understand, a little bit of how our business is structured, it does still flow up to Jaden and I, but we're on a more of we look at something and we say yes or no. We don't come up with a final decision. It's our people that are under us that are kind of coming up with a final decision, and then they're bringing it up to us, and we kind of go, yes, we're going left. Yes, we're going right.
Yep.
And that really takes a lot of pressure off of us. But again, you got to remember, Jada and I, our experience of this stuff is we've seen a lot. And if anybody ever has anything they want to bring to us, bring it to us. We'll tell you how it went before, how we did it, or we'll work with you to get through that problem.
Yeah. You want to talk about the Knoxville stuff? So you mentioned that VRBO that they're buying.
Okay.
That we didn't record.
We still got it. Hey, I was going to let it go, but you keep bringing it up. So we're going to talk about this again for the second time in the last 2 hours because somebody forgot to hit record. I'm just going to say that.
That's how you learn, though. You screw something up once and you won't do it again, right?
Hey, Jaden, that's the story of my life, man. I think I have to screw up on everything. And that's probably screwing up, again, I've been married for 25 years, but I'm sure I said a lot of stupid things. I just thank God that she understands me more sometimes than I understand myself, that I really didn't mean to say it.
Yeah. A lot of grace.
So, right. I got it. So the Knoxville guys, they came to us with a property, happens to be in an area in Knoxville that is known for Airbnb. I believe
it's called Seversville is the town, and it's about, I think it's 30 minutes out of Knoxville, 45, something like that.
So it's known for these up in the Rockies.
Appalachians. Smokies.
The Smokies.
Yeah,
right?
Smokies, yep.
The Smokies, okay. Sorry if I offended anybody.
Smokies, yep.
The Smokies. And apparently there's just a bunch of other, let's just call them cabins up in the woods. And the guys come across a pretty good deal. I know what I wanted to say about this. This proves that sometimes going off the MLS also works, okay? So my guess is I found out that the sellers they inherited the property. Of course, this is what happens. They probably run into a realtor, and that realtor says, oh, we can get so much money for that. We can get $530,000 because that's what all of them are going for in this area. Well, not all of them need a little work. This thing needs about $30,000 to $40,000. All the flooring has been taken out. Well, come to find out, remember when I said that this is an inherent property? So that's exactly what you want to hear, right? Once you say that would be a key word when you hear.
That's a flag. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a lot of clients we work with. It's an inherited property situation where, there's no mortgage. The property needs work because no one's worked on it for a long time. The person that lived there and owned it has passed away, and usually more than one person now owns it, which, adds a whole other dynamic to the mix. When you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people owning a property in different locations with different interests, and usually nobody wants to keep it. For the most part, no one really cares the price that they get for it either, because they're splitting it 5 ways or whatever. They just want it sold, and nobody wants a headache from it because what happens is, say there's 5 people, one person ends up getting all the burden from all of it, but they don't get paid any more than the rest of them do. So it's in their interest to get the thing gone and taken care of as fast and easily as possible.
Right.
So those are pretty good prospects usually.
Right. So it's not always on price, right? And I think that's what we really have.
Yeah, in a situation like that, I mean, they just don't care that much they want to get a decent value, but they don't need every last nickel out of the house, right? Because they're splitting it 5 ways.
The best thing we ever heard from a seller is, hey, James, I don't want to give it away. I just want it to go away.
Yeah, that's exactly what these situations are.
Right.
So they
So
don't want to donate it for free, right? They want to get paid for it, but they don't need to get absolute maximum top dollar in the market for it. And it's inherited. Like one of those heirs isn't going to go put $35,000 of their own money into it, because it's owned by 5 people. So they really almost can't do that.
if you're looking to get into this business and not try to spend a lot of capital, that's another avenue to go down. Now,
right. So just go over the numbers on that one, just so people understand. So it was listed for like 520, right?
520, I believe. It's on Zillow and everything.
And they're buying it for 320.
320.
Yeah, that's a big difference. So the point, I think, is that the list price doesn't always matter. Maybe isn't even real. Maybe they came from the realtor,
Right. Well, and that's exactly what I'm saying is again, realtors don't know everything just because they got a degree. You guys, if you really want a good realtor, you got to go with somebody that's been around a few years. And don't ask them how long you've been a realtor, because they could say 10 to 15 years and they still only do 1 or 2 deals a year. That's not a good realtor, in my opinion, guys. A good realtor is what wakes up, eats, sleeps, and does real estate.
I would agree, but I would also add that something like 95 or 97% of realtors are the realtors that do like 1 to 5 deals a year.
Yeah.
So it's a very small percentage, like less than 5%, that do significant volume of deals, that actually have the experience of doing 1,000 deals or whatever, hundreds of deals. It's not, you look at your top 1 or 2% of agents, essentially.
I mean, that's crazy that that's a statistic like that, but James is absolutely correct. You guys, everybody wants to become a realtor. Everybody thinks it's super, super easy. Again, it's not. I don't understand why everybody always thinks it's so easy, but they do. And it's the same thing with flipping houses. It's not easy. And in fact, I think, Jaden, if we knew now what we knew then, we probably would have never gotten into it. But we had no clue. And that's probably was good. It was probably better for both of us to understand that a little bit more, or have that.
Well, yeah, I was flipping houses on my own, and I decided after doing that a few times that I wasn't going to do it anymore, because it was definitely too much work and not that much fun.
There you go.
But once we started working together, then I was like, well, if I can get a team of people where we can kind of get, different people wearing different hats and make this run as an operation, then it could work, because I'm not the one running around doing everything then. Again, yeah, like you said, flipping houses seems easy. You watch an HGTV, it doesn't look hard, but there's so many different facets of it. And if you're one person doing all of these different things, you'll lose your mind pretty quickly doing all of it. So
you're being pulled in so many different directions.
It's just so much to keep track of. This, it's a really good business for a small business where you've got a team of people that specialize in different things. You have a person that specializes in construction project management. You have a person that specializes in administrative paperwork type stuff. You have a bookkeeper. You have all these different specialties. You have a salesperson, but for one person to be good at all of those different things and do them all it's very, very challenging. Would take a unique person to be good at paperwork and bookkeeping and sales and construction project management. But
Right.
some people do just flip houses themselves, and if you only do 1 or 2 a year, it's manageable. I was doing that for a number of years, doing 1 or 2 a year, maybe even 3 or 4 some years.
So what I was just dealing with right there is, it was a title company saying, hey, well, can we give you a quote for your seller too? And we already have everything lined up. And we would never move over to a different title company just for a one-off. It'll mess with our system. That's why I wanted to make sure that the buyer's agent knew that we don't want to have anything to do with the sellers.
Yeah, so that's actually a good thing to talk about real quick is the title stuff, because when you're doing 1 or 2 deals a year, title's like kind of not that big. You don't really think much about it. It's just kind of part of the transaction, part of buying or selling a property. But
you only see those people once or twice. That's it. But
yeah,
you don't
think about it that much. When you're doing scale, like title companies are integral part of our business, very critical. It's one of the most critical things actually in our business is title companies. So we have to have title company partners that we can trust, that strong relationship with, they prioritize our business, and they can, kind of customize how things happen, because our business is not the same as all traditional real estate business. It's different. There's different things to it. So you have to have someone that understands investors and investment transactions, estate, probate, foreclosure stuff. There's all these different things. But when you're doing volume, your title company can make or break you for sure.
Correct.
Because your business can grind to a halt if you can't close on any transactions.
Correct. That is pretty big. I'm trying to think of what else has actually happened. So just for the record, today's actually Wednesday, the 27th. And it has been 5 days since I've left my property. We've been in a snowstorm.
Winter arrived in late March.
Winter finally arrived in late March here, which is crazy. So thanks again for joining the Jaden and James Talk Real Estate, and maybe I'll pick up a nugget or two. So thanks again, guys.